I'm very excited to have you here today, and it's an exciting, very great topic. And thank you for accepting my invite.
Happy to be here.
And thanks all for joining today's webinar. It's always a privilege to have you and many of you coming again. We'll bring a lot of value to you for today's webinar. A lot of questions to ask, and feel free to put your questions on the question pad. With no further delay, I'd like to welcome Maksym, and he's coming from Frankfurt, Germany, very good, yeah, very beautiful part of the world. I visited Frankfurt 2 years ago. Mainz, that's where you are, yeah?
Right, minds, yes.
So Maksym come with lots of project program and portfolio management experience. And he has done a number of projects, currently working for IT organization. And I will ask Maksym to introduce himself, what he's doing, where he's doing. And then we'll talk a little bit more about his PgMP and PfMP journey.
Yep. My name is Maksym. I've been working for the last 15 years in different levels of organizations in project management. And most of the time I'm focused around IT functions. So it's software development, software products, IT projects, and so on. I've worked at different levels, as I mentioned, the project manager, program manager, portfolio manager, head of PMO, and other positions that are called differently in different organizations, like delivery manager, and so on. I work in different domains as well. That includes different business sectors like industrial, finance, healthcare, and life science, but mostly focused around IT domain inside the organization. For instance, medical devices, development of medical devices, software, finance, that would be also the solutions for the business, for banks, and so on. Hopefully my experience will be a little bit relevant to some of you guys, and hopefully there will be overlap with what I've been observing at different organizations and what you're seeing at your workplaces.
Great. Thank you. Just to let you know, look, I'm very proud to say that I have crossed my 600 PgMP, which I've been waiting. So as of now, 601 PgMP and PfMP up to short of 200 now. So thank you for your contribution. You have been amazing. You completed your PgMP just recently, November 18th, 2025. And previously completed your PfMP in 2024, 1.5 years ago. But you decided to do other way around. Not many people do that way. Many people do PMP, PgMP, and PfMP. So you did PMP, then you did PfMP. That's okay. Everybody has a different way. And would you like to share your learning experience of PgMP?
Yeah, first of all, congrats on achieving those numbers. And I hope the 200 mark for the PfMP comes very soon. Now, as you mentioned, you helped me and coached me or trained me for the PfMP and the PgMP assessments. But what you're missing is that I also did PMP in 2024, if I'm not mistaken, or 23. And last year, I also did the PMOCP certificate. But the thing is, I approach getting the certifications for two reasons. One, which is the first one, which is the obvious one, is to boost my CV, of course, to stand out against the competition. But what is most important to me is that I use this opportunity to bring more structure to my knowledge. This is actually the reason why I did first PfMP, because at that point of time, I was managing a portfolio of projects. I saw some of the gaps and I wanted to be better at what I do. So I decided to go for the assessment, for the training, to fill in the blanks, to understand what's the best practice and how can I ensure that I'm doing the best and I'm not missing something. So that's why I did PfMP first, and afterwards I did PgMP.
Right. Thank you very much. And do you want to say a few words about any learning your experience while preparing for PgMP?
Yes, so I would like to start with the PMP first, because that's basically what everyone encounters first. That's my history as well. I did PMP mostly without much preparation. I listened to the course because you need to get the study hours, if I'm not mistaken, to be eligible for the exam. And what I saw in PMP is that some of the questions are completely different than what I was focusing on during my preparation to the exam. So I thought that for hardware certifications like PfMP and PgMP, those questions will appear more and more. And that's why I decided to prepare with you for the assessments. And actually, it's great that I did, because what I saw in the assessments in the exam themselves is that a lot of questions are not exactly what I would personally pay attention to based on reading the guides, the best practices from PMI. What your courses gave to me and what I value very much is that first, the questions that you use in the training, right, they are very close to what actually will be seen in the exams. So it really gives a good idea of how to prepare, what to expect. And second, and which is more important, is that the training that you provide, it also helps with getting the mindset that is key to passing the assessments. So it gives you clear understanding of what actually is the role of a portfolio manager, program manager, because based only on my experience, the role is very different in different organizations. Some would expect that the portfolio manager completely owns their portfolio and has the final say, is the decision maker, which is actually not really the case, because the role of a portfolio manager is to understand, analyze, provide recommendation for the stakeholders of the executive team to make the decisions. That's as one of the examples. So I would really recommend doing the training, because otherwise you might miss a lot in the assessment.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for having me as your mentor, both PgMP and PfMP. This means a lot to me. Thank you, and appreciate you take the journey, PgMP or PfMP or PMP or any certificate, not just for having certificate, but for more how this knowledge and information can help me to grow myself as a certified professional project program manager. So thank you, and I'd like to get started with my questions. I have a set of questions. We'll go through them, and feel free to ask questions. You have question pad, as I mentioned. So, Maksym, my first question for you is, from your experience leading complex programs, where do organizations most often lose sight of value delivery program execution? And what early signals should leaders watch for to course correct before innovation stalls?
There is no one single correct one. Well, of course, the first and the basic one would be that the companies, the programs, they do not really understand what actually brings the value. They do not track the benefits, because benefit is more than a simple outcome, more than a simple developed module or created or implementation of a program. It means that there are dependencies, there are other components to the program that bring actual value to the organization rather than a simple piece of software or a simple button, right? So this is a straightforward answer. Now, in my experience, there are other steps or other points where a program starts losing control of value that should be realized, right? The benefits that should be achieved. So one problem that I see in a lot of companies is that they are focusing very much on completing a single task or a single step or a single project. And it doesn't really mean that we achieve any value or we achieve any benefits. For organizational purposes, it's great that we are on the right track, but it doesn't really bring that much value to the company. It doesn't help achieve us our strategic goals or anything else. And so as an example, I'm mostly working with software or IT projects. So I will speak to that, and all of my examples will mostly be from that sector. Usually an organization will highly prioritize going live with a system, with any system, right? But it doesn't mean that the system will run smoothly in the live environment. We are missing the requirement validation. We might miss end-to-end testing, which will tell us exactly that the program is running as expected, that we are actually bringing the benefits to our organizational process, we are automating something, or we are giving more products to our customers. So that's the problem. People do not follow up. They stop at one point and expect that here are the benefits. One of the signs for this issue is that the organization and the leadership will have extreme focus on solving one single issue or implementing one single module, or they will have one single deadline, one single date that everyone will be pushed against. But this doesn't really help with getting the value. The problem where programs start losing value is when some components of the program, some projects of the program, they start losing necessary resources. The scope creep occurs. They start getting lower priorities. There is a new strategic initiative that's being pushed to the front, which, as you all know, all the components must be, or some components have to be delivered in a specific order. There is interdependency between different components of a program, which actually bring the benefits rather than one single project in itself. Let's imagine that we are implementing an ERP system, which is a huge enterprise solution for any organization. That's great. We've went live with the system. We completed the main components. The system is live, right? But then a second component that we had in the program was focused on creating the reports out of the data from the ERP. Our business analysts are getting reassigned to other programs. Our timeline with the resources gets smaller because something else pops up, because people are leaving the organization, because some change occurs. And the priority for the program is becoming lower for the whole organization because they see the main component, everyone is mostly happy. So that's the outcome. We do not have the reports that actually bring value to our finance department, to our sales, to our commercial. And that's one of the examples. So there are different signs that you can see even before it happens. For example, the organizational changes that are occurring at different levels of the organization. There is mounting pressure on project teams. There is a lack of resources, travel restrictions, hiring freeze. So you see that organization starts cutting corners somewhere, and you should expect, or you should at least understand that there is a risk and it might impact your program negatively. So in my opinion, that's some of the examples where organizations lose the value, but by focusing on specific points in the program only.
Great. Thanks, Maxim, and good explanation. So this is the important point, and bringing, giving the value, especially when you talk about complex programs. Okay, great. All right. So my next question for you, Maxim, here: how should organizations determine whether strategic initiatives are best managed as individual programs or coordinated at the portfolio level to maximize the value, innovation, and what criteria truly matters in making that decision?
When I see the term strategic initiative, I start getting nervous all the time because people always think about their own understanding, their own way of determining what is actually a strategic initiative. That's very hard to get everyone to be aligned on the same wording, on the same terms. Strategic initiative can be anything for one executive, but for another that would be a different project or program. So the first thing that I always do is I try to understand what's actually a strategic initiative for this stakeholder. And I keep getting crazy answers all the time. It's something that was approved by leadership team. It's something that we urgently need. It's something that sometimes has a business plan somewhere buried in the mountain of paperwork, and it's been there for the last 5 years, but now's the time, right? So the question is, for me, is first, I understand what's actually a strategic initiative. Do we really even need to do that? Usually, in my experience, a strategic initiative is simply an instrument for some stakeholders, usually from the executive team, to avoid the regular processes because they believe it takes more time, it's more of a hassle, they believe that it might be not accepted or anything in between, right? Honestly, if a portfolio is working properly, if it's managed correctly, if there are visible, transparent processes on how to handle any incoming inquiries, project requests, why don't we follow that? Portfolio is there in place specifically to answer the question if the request is aligned with our organizational strategy, if we have the budget, if we have the resources, if we have the means to implement it, how does it impact connected or potentially dependent projects that are already running somewhere? So that's why I'm always getting confused by people try to push for this issue for implementing a strategic initiative. But that's the role of PMO, of portfolio managers, to talk to the stakeholders, to the sponsors, to people who make the decisions, who approve the budget, and so on. They need to clarify to them that we don't have unlimited resources, right? We don't have unlimited money. We don't have unlimited time, right? So let's select what's important, what's the most important to implement first, to work on first, right? That's the goal of the portfolio, to prioritize the work that we are doing in terms of aligning this with the strategy, in terms of utilizing our resources as smart as possible to bring the most value, and analyzing any incoming requests. Because a strategic initiative for someone might be an implementation of an ERP system, right, that will actually bring a lot of value or should bring a lot of value to organization. And that will be supported by the numbers. We build the business case, we perform the analysis, we understand what are the impacts, what is the budgets, the resources, the timeline, right? That's the goal of the portfolio. But that's my opinion. People might encounter situations where a strategic initiative is something that's more of an opportunity for us to disrupt the market. And of course, I'm not saying that I'm 100% sure, but in my experience, that's what I've seen. In other sectors, in other organizations, that might be completely different. So, of course, that might be a possibility as well.
Yeah. How and why a particular initiative decided to go as a program or portfolio? We learned in part of the PgMP and PfMP as well. Like if you see the interdependent components within the with interdependent projects and a common objective, then best run as a program instead of running individual projects. Of course, this program can be still part of the portfolio, but running as a program depends on is there any interdependency among them? What value we're delivering? What benefit we're achieving? Common objectives. That's where I see running as a program can be beneficial.
The thing is, I'm referring to strategic initiative
Mm.
existing outside of any program, any portfolio, right?
Yeah.
What a program management gives us is ability to align different components, different dependent components with a new initiative, with a new project. That's for sure. That's why I'm advocating for any strategic initiative going through all this process through the portfolio review and then being assigned into a separate project or an existing or a new program so that all these risks can be mitigated through proper means of managing the program.
Let me see. There are a couple of questions. Have you been successful in implementing benefit relation to measure the outcome of projects? And if so, what are the top 2, 3 behaviors that enable you to accomplish that?
The answer is yes. The thing is, unfortunately, I didn't manage programs following the standard, the classical approach that the PMI has. I've managed programs using agile methodologies, specifically SAFe, because once again, I'm working in software implementation domain, which is usually has to respond to any changes in the business and customer perspectives very, very fast. So SAFe is a methodology, is a framework that is built around delivering value first to the customers. The product or the program in itself doesn't deliver something that is not usable by the customer, by the end user. In this perspective, everything that's being developed goes through this prism of having value, intrinsic value. There are 4 components for that build out the value delivery in SAFe. One of them is the solutions, features, and implementations. So you classify the product differently. You do not deliver a button, you deliver a functionality that solves an issue for the user or for the customer. You know, we are not building pretty UI, we are not automating something for the sake of automation. We're given better user experience. We are given
solutions to problems. And this is what actually brings value for software product, right? The second point would be solutions. How do we position our product? How do we position everything that we are doing? The end goal is to get more value. We're building against expectations of the market. We're building against the expectations of the customers, how to make not our solution prettier, but more useful. The third level actually is the portfolio strategy. So by aligning on the portfolio level, we are delivering the value to the customer and not a feature. We are not giving a feature to the customer, we are giving them solutions. So for portfolio, that would be a difference in positioning a project resolving issues. So our requirements will be different, our outcomes will be different, and that's the part that portfolio takes care of. And of course, the fourth being the organizational purpose. In my experience, the benefit realization was the most applicable by using different framework. I don't think that the classical approach is the best case in all situations. We need to take into account the ways of working, the culture, the products, whatever we are delivering, even the domain in which we are working. And sometimes other frameworks, other approaches will work better. But that's my opinion. Might not be popular, but it is what it is.
No, that's good. Thank you very much. I hope you, yeah. My next question is around this. In long running or transformational program, how can benefit relation be designed as the continuous discipline rather than post-delivery activity, ensuring value is actively protected and enhanced throughout the life cycle?
Yeah, I guess there are a couple of answers to this question. The first one being follow the practice guide, follow the standard, follow the best practice, create all the necessary documentation, benefit realization plan, track them, actively manage them, take into account the risks, and so on. The thing is, I've never seen it being done in real life. Maybe I'm not that lucky to observe it, but I've never seen it. As I mentioned previously, I've used the SAFe framework, and you can't even start doing any work without positioning the development or the delivery against the value. So that's a different approach, obviously. But in terms of the standard approach, I would say there should be a great contribution from a program manager. Program manager must become an advocate of the benefit. Program manager must actively, proactively, and always constantly communicate this to the stakeholders, to the sponsors, to the leadership board, and whatever you call it. But that's something that must be constantly reiterated, constantly highlighted to avoid a lot of issues. In ending the program prematurely, the idea that program manager should focus on is how do we bring actual benefits that bring the value to the company in as little time as possible, not all at the end, because it's very hard for a business to wait a couple of years to only then get the benefits from a running program. Of course, I'm generalizing some domains for some domains, for some sectors, that's the only way. But for other domains, for other types of program manager should focus his work on structuring the program in a way that brings the benefits as soon as possible, even if it's not a fully delivered solution, right? Why don't we start with MVP, right? It can bring value, not the full expected value, but it will be evolving during time. It will bring more and more benefits to the company, hence bringing the value sooner and getting the traction with managers to give the success story starting much sooner in our road. So I guess that's the idea.
Yeah, thank you for explaining. So, as we gone through PgMP process of creating the benefit management plan, what benefit, with identifying what exactly we're going to do to come up with deliver the benefit, and then we also talk about transitioning the benefit, and then talk about sustainment of the benefit. So the planning of benefit sustainment already happened during the delivery phase. You already done all the hard work. You and your the operations team or whoever going to take over the benefit, you already had discussion how they're going to sustain the benefit, how they're going to maintain the delivery of benefit. Whether there's benefit coming during the program itself when you're doing, or going to be after the program, or many years after that. But we need to have a structure or the plan where the benefit can be realized as expected, whether immediately or after some time, depends on type of benefit, of course. My next question is, what role should PMO play in enabling value-driven decision-making and innovation across the program, while still providing the governance and consistency organization needs at a scale?
So I've seen different PMOs that do completely different things, focused on completely different topics, and approach their work completely differently. PMOs have been there in the organization since 50 years. PMO have been doing completely different things in different cultures, different regions, different type of organizations. It's very hard. It's extremely hard to change a PMO in an organization that's been present on the market and doing business for a number of years, for a lot of years. The thing is, I would say culture also plays a huge role in what a PMO does in an organization. Different cultures approach their decision making differently. That's why PMO play completely different roles. Some of them focus on training, some of them focus only on creating the templates, writing the documentation. For other regions, I've seen PMO being the decision maker. In other regions, PMOs are simply a communication channel between different stakeholders. They use PMO as a common ground to discuss different projects, and that's it. I can express my opinion, and it might not be a correct one, but hopefully that's a good one because it actually aligns with the PMO practice guide been updated last year. Yeah. So actually, I would say that's a great way to position a PMO in an organization. According to this approach, PMO becomes more of a strategic partner rather than a department in the organization. It kind of focuses itself on the business and getting it more value. How do we give the business more value? The PMO kind of becomes a service provider for the whole organization. They provide different services, learning, training, managing projects, and so on and so forth. I think that's also a great way for existing PMOs to take the next step. It doesn't make sense for a PMO to be stuck updating one single document for the next 5 years. Take a step back. You already have a service of providing this framework of updating the documentation, right? Try to branch out, try to provide one other type of services to a potentially different stakeholder in the organization. Check it out. Take a look, analyze what works, what doesn't, and evolve their services as needed. It doesn't mean that everything has to change tomorrow, but it's a gradual process, even if there is no PMO in your organization at all, right? A PMO can be started with a very small number of services that PMO provides to the company, right? Start writing the documentation or start training. They need more project management capability, hire resources that you handle, that they report to you, and you direct them on how to manage a project in terms of the organizational culture, ways of working, and so on. So I think personally, I like it very much because I've been in the situations where PMO is unable to change anything, is unable to help in any way, which is not the best scenario. So I would say becoming a strategic partner, becoming a service-oriented unit or organization in itself can greatly enhance the value that the company gets out of the projects, programs, portfolios, whatever the level is.
You've gone through PMOCP certificate, so the language you're using is definitely what PMI has suggested in PMO's practice guide. And that's what it's becoming value partners, a strategic partner, rather than just support and all those things traditional PMO has been doing. And rather you are contributing to the decision making as a PMO. Yeah. So Thank you for bringing it back. All right. So let me take the next question here. When resources, funding, or capacity are constrained, how can program and portfolio leaders make trade-offs decisions that preserve strategic value and still leave room for innovation?
Well, first of all, we have a very useful instrument, which is called prioritization. How it's done, it's another topic. It can be done in great ways, in a proper ways, or it can be done by simply talking to one single executive. But it's a great instrument for program manager, for PMO, for portfolio manager, even for project manager. This is a great way on how to manage constraints, how to manage expectations of the organization, how to bring more value. In an ideal world, portfolios are there specifically to address the prioritization question. All the projects should be prioritized in one single throughput list. All the programs, activities, strategic initiatives, hopefully, but portfolios answer that question. That's how we understand if the resources are used properly, if they're used in the most smart way that the organization can, if they deliver the most value that they can, while being grouped or aligned with our strategy. Because the goal of the company is actually translated into the strategy that they are executing, right? Now, PMO and project management as discipline is aimed at working through that, aimed at implementing that strategic vision through different programs, projects, portfolios, and so on. So that's the goal. The goal is to use the resources that are available in the best way possible. Now, if you take a step back, the prioritization is or should be there. And I implore everyone here to tomorrow or on Monday, talk to your bosses. What would you do if such a request or such issue comes up tomorrow? We don't have resources. What do we do next? So how do you handle prioritization? It's a great way to reflect on what you will be doing personally and specifically tomorrow when this comes. It's a great way to not be caught off guard if something like this happens. Now, there are also other options what to do. So one option is to analyze the projects in a more broad sense. Take into consideration that, okay, we do not have perfectly available resources. We do not have enough money and we do not have enough time. When we approve or the organization approves a project, all of these things are considered, right? We potentially have the resources or we greenlight the project only if we can implement it. Now, when you do this analysis and you present it to your bosses, spend more time on the analysis and understand what are the potential ways on mitigating the resource deficiency down the road. It's a very valid risk that you should consider for a portfolio, because this is usually done as part of the portfolio management to analyze the risk of lack of resources or deficiency in budget and so on. But analyze it through the perspective of your project or a program. This will help you have a backup plan. This will help you find ways on still bringing some kind of maybe reduced benefits, reduced value to the organization, but it will help avoid this gap that appears when a program is terminated or a project is terminated midway. So that's also something that you should consider. And as for the organization, if you take a look, if you think about what an organization can do to use the resources more correctly or properly, what to do in a situation where they see that the resources become restricted or constrained, the first thing they will do is they will start measuring. They will start measuring when they see that there are efficiencies in resources, they will start measuring first. What do they have available? What can they achieve? And they will start measuring the performance. So there are different instruments, there are different ways on how to do that. Balance scorecards, OKRs, KPIs, and everything in between be a step in advance, right? If you're managing a project, come up with specific metrics. If you don't, that might also be the case. If you don't have them, come up with specific metrics against which you're working, which you should be achieving. In performance, start measuring how you're burning through your budget, whether you're on time, whether you are late, or you're running ahead of your expenses. That will be a good way for you to check the health of your project as well. So start measuring even tomorrow. Why not?
Exactly. Thank you very much. Just for the benefit of everyone, I have posted the PDU code on the chat. So PDU code and codes identifier, please take a copy of both of them. And that will be useful for when you are trying to claim the PDU code. If any problem, let me know. If you're watching this as a recording, reach out to us and we'll help you with the PDU code. One of the other question we have, how do you foresee the convergence of AI into the world of program management?
That's a great question, because coming from the software and IT sector, that's the first to be hit with AI. And I'm already start seeing some impact. Let's count them. The first one being the PMI AI solution. Whether we can use it or not, that's a different question. A lot of organizations are very careful with their data. They are very careful with what you're able to share with external tools. But for multi-purpose general requests, give me a template, give me guidance on the standards, what is the best practice. You really start using it with dump requests, with easy questions that you have. If you are not sure, talk to the agent. They may give you information, even what to read about, where to find the information, how to use it. You don't need to be sharing details. You don't need to share the names or customer data or whatever. Please don't do that. Just start multiple general conversation, start asking general questions. Now, it becomes more interesting. Leading organizations in EU and US as well, and Asia, they are developing their own solution, AI solution, AI agent, conversational agent, whatever the solution is. The thing is, Europe can be more free to use that solution. Will it give you the best outcome? That might not be the case. There are different levels of technologies, databases, and knowledge bases available for learning purposes, but still, you can start using it. I'm sure that nations already have one, or it's coming in the next 1 or 2 years. So use it, because otherwise you will be late. Start using it with general requests. Don't try to get perfection out of it. You will not get it. Not for now. And I don't think not for the next 1 or 2 years, at least. Perfection will come much later.
Yep.
Because for you, what you're looking is perfection in terms of managing the expectations, of hitting the goal that your stakeholders expect from you. The nuances of the project, what is things you have to meet. If you're talking with finance, your stakeholder is from finance department, right? You will focus first and foremost on the numbers, how you're running budget, whether you're on time, whether they can submit all their documents easily, and so on. And now, there is this sort of AI agent, or AI functionality rather, which starts with your project management tool. So there are different tools on the market, of course. Some of them have portfolio management modules, functionality. So check that out, because I've seen a couple of solutions that have AI functionality available that helps developers write the code or check the code. There are a couple of PM tools where the embedded agent can check your plans. They can check whether, for example, the AI agent can check if all your tasks are interconnected. All of them have dependencies. It's one of the approaches that's used where every task should lead to another, have a predecessor or a dependent task. Another request that you can do is check the spelling, check the deadlines, check the dates, check the resources. The functionality starts becoming more robust. And don't be late. It evolves very fast. And you will see at some point project plans being created in half an hour with thousands of lines for a huge enterprise program. So just start using it for easy stuff. You can do it today.
Exactly. Look, AI is evolving and is growing very fast, as you mentioned. A lot of, as you correctly said, you have to adopt it. It's already part of us. It's helping us in many ways. It's how you track your projects, how you track your programs, and building the project plans and all the master schedule. It can happen very friction of time, but at the same time, it gives you enough extra time to work with your stakeholders, build a relationship. Because when you are doing the documentation, doing the reports, you don't focus too much on your building relationship with your stakeholder. Now your opportunity is to, okay, now I have had more time to build a relationship. Right. Yeah. If anybody is preparing for any certificate, PgMP, PfMP, POCP, PMP, RMP, or something, feel free to put that in your chat. I will be happy to connect with you and help you with achieving them in the shorter time. I also, in the chat, you see the way you can connect with me or book my time. So feel free to book my time. Happy to walk you through 15-minute time. And if you are interested, happy to have you in my program. For PgMP, PfMP, and PMO leaders accountable for driving organization change, what leadership mindset or capability do you believe is most critical for turning program into sustained source of business value and innovation?
Yeah. So there is a discrepancy in the workplace. Discrepancy that you assume that everyone is working towards one single goal, which is not the case. There are a lot of politics involved, specifically at the higher levels. A lot of change is driven by finding those who are loyal to one single guy at the top, structuring the organization in the right way, or being successful only when it's needed to someone specifically. So I just want people to be aware of it. It's the same mindset that you have to use in your day-to-day life. It's just the world doesn't want one single person to succeed, right? You're the one who wants that, and you should be prepared for it. Yes, be positive or be the driver in your organization, which is great because you will become visible. It's good to work on aligning the whole team towards what's important, what you need to achieve. But you also have to be prepared, which means document everything, document the hell out of your projects, document all the decisions, document whatever happens with your project, have the plans ready, be prepared to answer any question, because you are the most knowledgeable person and you are responsible for the success of the project or the program. Or even if you don't believe you are, believe me, the whole organization thinks that you are. So just make sure that you are ready. The mindset that you should have is that you have to drag everyone by their feet for the program to be successful. That's what you will be doing likely. 90% of the time, you are the one pushing, you are the one making the traction or making sure that everything works within the guardrails, making sure everything is aligns with compliance. You have to be careful. You have to document the decisions. You have to spend your time doing unpopular things, doing repetitive things, so documenting, talking to everyone, and bringing everyone together. You're like a glue that also has an engine inside of it. So you should keep pushing. Now, how do you make it a sustained source of business value and innovation? It's a very fancy wording. I'm fond of this wording. The thing is, you need to make sure that people know what do they need, what do they want, and what they will be doing it in 5 years, in 10 years. As you said, sustainment plan, benefit sustainment plan is actually done even before anything is delivered. That's what you should do. When you have customers, when you have clients, your stakeholders, they come up with a requirement that they have right now. or that is obvious, right? Make them think a little bit more. Think 10 steps ahead, 5 years ahead, what the customer will be doing with the solution, what the customer will be doing with the results of your work. This will help you deliver the better result, something that is not thrown out of the window tomorrow. So that's the mindset that I have. Do not think that it's easy to deliver a program. Do not think that it's easy to be protected. It's constant work and it demands your attention. So please do not avoid it.
Exactly. Great. Thank you very much, Maksym. Thank you for your contribution and bringing insight. Thank you, everybody, to actively participating. I know many of you participate in poll and asking questions. You're busy on chat asking. So that's awesome to have a community who is working together to learn and to bring the knowledge together. And wish you good luck and whatever you do from here. Good luck to everybody joining today. Thank you for your participation. Anything you like to say?
Thank you for having me, and thank you for spending your time listening to all. But yeah, it was great to be here, and I really hope that you heard something interesting from me. So thanks to the audience, of course, for the active participation. I'm very happy that you see the value in your last hour. Thanks, everyone.
Great stuff. All right, guys. So I will be talking to you very soon, 29th of January. I have another guest. She's from United States, Eileen, and she's done PgMP recently. She's very exciting and another great personality to have. See you again very soon. Take care. All the best.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.